guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video. Today we're gonna go take out one of the missions that was added, along with the Metal Cooler Core stage of the Red Zone, right? So we know that they will add missions to the final stage of these Red Zones. Broly, Omega, and then of course the Metal Cooler Core, right? All have these missions. We have to beat them in a certain number of turns. You have to beat them with a full Superclass team, only Superclass units and one of every typing, and then a full Extreme Class team with, you know, every typing and only Extreme Class units. So here we're going to go ahead and do the Extreme Class mission. Of course, you guys know how it is. We're going to get double SDR Cooler turn 1, which is horrible. So have to pop a Whis right here at the start. It actually is comedy how often I get this, right? Like literally every run. This is particularly bad with Final Form Cooler, right? Because he is, yeah, if I didn't use a Whis, I'm pretty sure we were dead. That's funny. But it's like, the other thing too is you could say like, oh, well, you could run Tech Janemba in slot 1. But, I mean, that's not really super safe here against this Metal Cooler army. Because remember, they lower your attack on Super, and they get Super attack twice. So it's like, if I put Fat Janemba in slot 1, right, then this Cooler would be in slot 2 with, you know, Big Bad Bosses and Metamorphosis, right? But then the Cooler in slot 3 would not have those links. I mean, Cooler without all these big buffs and links and stuff like that, getting Supered turn 1... it would essentially be as good as dead. Like, if the Metal Cooler Core super attacked in slot 3, which happens a lot, right? Or not Metal Cooler Core, but the Metal Cooler Army. This fight is pretty tough designed, right? It can work very well for Wicked Bloodline. I mean, if you don't get a terrible opening rotation like this, right, where you get double Cooler first turn. But this Cooler right here, remember, he has to attack 10 times to fully build up his passive. In many other fights in the game, Cooler will start, you know, he'll do 3 attacks and the phase ends, right? But against the Metal Cooler army, it's actually a lot more realistic that you'll be able to build up several of these characters at the same time. Because this phase lasts for 3 turns, right? Like, it's not like we just, you know, jump in here and like, oh, we one-shot him easily. Like, you have to survive for 3 turns against this Metal Cooler, right? Now, I chose to use Final Form Cooler's theme, right? Because I think Final Form Cooler is the best Extreme Class unit in the game. And, you know, with his link set, Metamorphosis, Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, and then, of course, the Wicked Bloodline links, Final Form Cooler does work incredibly well with virtually every single incredible, like villain unit that we can run, right? Now, we have to bring one of every typing, so I just threw Berter and Jace on the team. Remember that the Ind character is the real problem slot for this run, because the second phase, the Metal Cooler Core, is physical, and he is easily the hardest physical enemy in the game that we have to deal with, right? But Berter and Jace, they have their 50% chance to dodge, so, you know, we have a better chance with them than many other characters, right? Like Berter and Jace, if we get them to bob and weave a couple of times, we'll be pretty good. Remember that they do also give Space Traveling Warriors support, right? So all the STR Coolers will be getting it. But unfortunately, Metal Cooler and Golden Frieza are not on Space Traveling Warriors. It's actually absurd to me that Metal Cooler and Golden Frieza are not on Space Traveling Warriors, right? Because, like, Dragon Ball Super Frieza, like, you know, it seemed like he was traveling around space after he was revived. I'm just saying, man. Like, I feel like they could have added him there. And then Metal Cooler, we know for a fact that he was traveling around space in the Big Eddy Star, like, absorbing planets and shit like that. So, just a very bizarre choice, I would say, that Golden Frieza and Metal Cooler do not have Space Traveling Warriors. And it would make this team work just that much more effectively, right? If Metal Cooler and Golden Frieza were actually getting the support from Berter and Jace, right? Tech Janemba can be pretty solid, right? I mean, he's not the greatest ever. You're definitely, like, relying upon RNG quite a bit for Tech Janemba, because you don't really have very powerful, like, rainbow orb changers on this team still, right? Like, I don't know, like if LR Metal Cooler created rainbow orbs or something like that, like Fat Janemba would work more effectively. But no matter what, you're still like working off of RNG with the orbs, right? Fat Janemba has always had just an utterly ridiculous sort of like restriction on his orbs. Like the cost that he needs is just way too high, right? He needs 4 type orbs, and then he needs 2 rainbow orbs. So this, okay, I'm glad that this is the run we did right here, because this is like, our RNG here is horrendous, right? So on this turn, let's just pretend the Metal Cooler core didn't seal anyone, or he sealed LR Metal Cooler. We could potentially take off like 70% of this guy's health or more, right? The thing is that if you have Final Form Cooler, this mission really should be not that bad. Because Final Form Cooler can just do so much damage to this guy. It's insane. But Metal Cooler Core, you know, every single turn he will seal a character. If he's sealing Final Form Cooler, that can hurt us quite a bit. We barely got any attacks from him, too, because that's the Cooler that started out, that we floated off. So he does not have his additional from his intro anymore. So it's like this poor Cooler, that friend Cooler right there, has just had a brutal run so far. Just absolutely terrible. If we get to the point where we could use... Okay, so is this death? I think we're just dead right here. We're going to revive. The Metal Cooler core hits ridiculously hard, as you guys can see. The Metal Cooler core hits essentially harder than Omega Shenron. I believe when it comes to like these super attacks, like let's not count like the Dokkan event super attacks, like the Spirit Bombs, stuff like that. Some of those Gokus do, right? Those do millions of damage as well. But like this Metal Cooler core, this is essentially the hardest hitting super attack besides Cell Max. I think only Cell Max is above this guy in terms of actual damage. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. The other reason this fight can be a little bit trickier, at times I can find this a little bit tougher even than the Broly fight, if not for the fact that Broly had his AoE and then he canceled dodge, right, which changes the game completely. But this fight is very fast, right? Like, you have the first phase against the Metal Cooler army, and then you're right into the thick of things against the Metal Cooler core. You know, the Broly fight, you have, you know, 3 full phases before you get to that final phase of Broly. So, like, you know, you could have a lot of characters potentially build up, you know, Final Form Cooler, Golden Frieza, right? Like, all these characters that need to build up, you can much more consistently and easily do that before getting to the really tough portion of the fight, where, against, honestly, a lot of these Wicked Bloodline stages are like that, where they're all 2 phases, except for Full Power Frieza, right? Full Power Frieza is just a fight that goes on forever, but besides that one, all these other fights are very, very fast, which can make them difficult, right? Because, again, you don't really have the time to build up. It's like, it's why, like, Super Battle Road for a while was, like, some of the toughest content in the game, is because it's just, like, you know, you're right there, the enemies are hitting there, and then it's, like, you know, like, the legendary events and some of these other stages, it's, like, even though the enemies might be harder towards the end, you just have so much time to build up that it makes it not really that bad. It's why the Shadow Dragon stage of the Red Zone doesn't feel that tough or that bad, because you just have so long to sort of build up to it. And then here we go. That's GG. The second that Final Form Cooler did not get locked right here, we probably have our W. Crazy that this Cooler hasn't gotten 8 attacks yet to do the Supernova, because otherwise he would have just completely disintegrated the Metal Cooler core. But there we go. There is this mission. I think this one, if you have Final Form Cooler, this is not going to be bad at all, right? Like, Final Form Cooler just destroys this guy to the point where a lot of people thought that this fight is like a joke or super easy, and it's just because of how hard Final Form Cooler, like, counters this fight and just, like, can do all of this guy's health, like, in an instant, essentially, right? So, you know, it is still a tough fight. I think some of these other teams, you know, like the AGL Cell team could, you know, very effortlessly destroy, like, Broly. But, like, this fight will be a little bit tougher because, like, the androids can't like nullify Ki Blast supers because the Metal Cooler Core doesn't use Ki Blast super attacks, right? But you know, you still have a number of teams that potentially could do this. The Ginyu Force team, right, should be a pretty easy clear for this. If you got the Ginyu Force, if you have Final Form Cooler, right, this mission really shouldn't be so bad. This Extreme Class mission. I've seen it's actually been the Super Class mission, which has been giving global players a lot more trouble, but that's because, you know, the problem character is your int characters. And int is a weakness for some of the top, like, you know, the, like, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta team and the Gods team and stuff like that. Those int characters are the ones that could be just sort of a little bit iffy, right? So, there we go. There is the mission done. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.